Dylan Burns is always good content.
According to him, the only reason he joined the Ukrainian military was to be a super duper commie boy and to expose all of the war crimes.
What?
So I'm sure he has a single shred of evidence of anything he is saying.
Okay, that's so
I want
weird.
to show you guys.
That is
this
so
interview. We're
strange.
gonna watch at least part of this interview. I don't know if we're gonna watch the whole thing. So, this is an interview of a volunteer. This is a guy who volunteered to be in the Ukrainian military as like a foreign legionnaire or something along those lines, and then defected.
Okay, send it.
And then joined the Russians, and is now giving interviews about how evil Ukraine is, how fantastic Russia is, how there's so many cocaine and strippers in the American military, making them sound a lot cooler than they actually are. He sounds like one of those military recruiters that lies to you in order to get you on the bus. Oh, there's tons of cocaine and strippers, and just like, and it's a really strange interview. But the story from the rumor mill behind this guy and what he was like when he was serving with the Ukrainian military seems to might have some, answers as to why he wanted to say so many peculiar things while in Russian captivity. Now, I do want to say here two things. Number one, this is Russian state media. The purpose of Russian state media is to the government of Russia.
Wait, this is an interview by Russian TV. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. That explains a lot. I have to send Dylan that thing. Ridiculous. Like, Russian television is so ridiculous.
You should take that into consideration for the piece we're about to watch. I'm not going to sit here and cherry pick every single bit of, oh, that was misrepresentative. He called Ukraine a Nazi state for the 7th time. Let me tell you about that wrong. I'm probably not going to do that. I might do a small bit here or there. I'm not going to do that because I think you guys should probably come in here understanding that this is Russian state propaganda to some degree, and so I'm not going to do too much nitpicking.
I'm going to be honest.
The second thing that I want you guys to know before we go into this.
If you nitpicked all the inaccuracies in Russian television, then you just spend 5 hours dissecting a Russian propaganda video. Unironically.
Is that I generally do not like interviews of POWs being used as evidence of really anything. And the reason I don't is I guess maybe there could be a few like tiny examples where it's a good idea, but anytime there is somebody who's fought on one side of a military and now they're a POW, and I'm not just talking about like, oh, this is somebody who fled to another country, but like this is like they were talking about POWs, people who was in the service fighting and they have been captured and now they're a POW. You do not take their word at face value. And the reason why is they're a POW. Who knows what their captors could do to them? They could have told them off camera, like, hey, if you say this, this, and this on camera, you're going to get more food. Or if you say this, this, and this on camera,
you might just not die.
If you say this, this, and this on camera,
maybe we'll let you live.
Torture you. And so this is why I don't even accept Ukrainian interviews of Russian POWs that they've captured in denial. And I don't extrapolate anything out of it. It's because at the end of the day, while I'd like to assume there was no torture, there was no coercion, there was no nothing, as a journalist, I don't think it would show a lot of integrity if I was like, well, interviews with these POWs can be submitted easy to be taken on as evidence, but interviews with these guys aren't. I don't want to be like that. So take those two things into consideration. This is Russian state TV, and this guy is basically a POW. And so take those both into consideration.
Dylan Burns knows what he's doing. Like, he's being very professional. Always. Very nice. It's very nice to see. Maybe we could try talking again. I wonder if he's gonna stop by Poland again, or if he's going straight to Ukraine this time.
When you see the way he talks, before we get into the deeper...
Wait, is there a way to go straight to Ukraine while we're at it? I really wonder what Dylan's route to Ukraine is,
or behind this guy, according to a lot of sources online in the grapevine. So let's watch this interview.
A year, former US Army soldier John McIntyre was a foreign mercenary in Ukraine.
Okay, I hate to start it off like this, but he
British
wasn't a
voice.
foreign mercenary. He was a member of the Foreign Legion, and if you're a member of the Foreign
Okay,
Legion, you're
yeah,
not
okay.
a mercenary, you're a volunteer.
Yeah,
Mercenaries go out there and fight for blood and conquest and money.
Yeah, for
on
money
behalf
mostly.
Of a private military company. right?
Mostly
To put it,
money.
like, very bluntly. He wasn't a member of a private military company. He was a member
Yeah,
of
okay.
the armed forces of Ukraine. He
That
wasn't
is-
part of, for example, Wagner, which is separate from the Russian government, and it's purposely separate so the Russian government can kind of separate themselves from the crimes of Wagner. And can
That
use
is a big
those soldiers more
difference, yeah.
disposably because their deaths aren't going to come up on the total military death counts with the rest of the Russian military. He wasn't like that. He wasn't part of a private military company. He was part
Yeah,
of the
okay.
Foreign Legion. So he wasn't a mercenary. He was a volunteer.
Yeah.
He came over from overseas and volunteered.
It's me and all the boys. Say so, y'all.
I will add that actually a lot of people have volunteered to fight for Ukraine from outside of Ukraine. I'm playing two of the most overpowered characters in this game, Magneto and Storm. Yeah, Dylan left for Ukraine already. I think it was the day after his birthday, which of course I have wished him a happy birthday. And I have linked on Twitter a link to support a person that's apparently really good and getting money for supplies and such. So I have shared it.
Earlier this month, he defected to Russia.
That's some terrifying footage of Ukrainian Nazis. What will they do next?
He brought everything with him: papers, files, intelligence, and maps. The thing is, he always meant to.
The first question is, why are you here? I mean,
Well, it's the reason I came to Ukraine in the first place. You know, I'm a communist, I'm an anti-fascist, and we have to fight fascism everywhere. You know,
Oh my God.
When I came to Ukraine, I knew that I would try to get as much information as I could.
Yeah, because Russia is so communist.
So let's for now take this at face value. Okay? And let's not listen to him and think, wow,
This makes him
sharpest crayon in the crayon box.
this makes him look so horrible. Like what? First of all, Russia has nothing to do with communism. Second of all, Ukraine is not a fascist country. This is so pathetic. Ridiculous. This is what happens when people who live on the other side of the globe and make some sort of like a weird idea of how a country works.
But let's take this at face value and assume what he's saying is true. That he's a communist and he joined the Ukrainian Foreign Legion in order to gather intelligence to hand over to the Russians, the nation that is currently invading Ukraine, in order to annex territory and erase what they call the Ukrainian disease, according to Dmitry Medvedev.
Yeah.
And he is giving them that intelligence against the nation that is being invaded. He's giving it to the invading army.
I have seen this attitude from so many quote unquote communists in the US. You know? Very interesting that so many quote unquote communists from the US go this route of Ukraine is fascistic and Russia is somehow communist. You know? Yeah. Mia Mulder. I don't know Mia Mulder.
To stop imperialism. Fantastic. Okay. Real Marxist praxis here.
About, you know, anything that'd be helpful and defect across lines. The problem is when I was in Kharkov, I was going to swim across, and I found out they had snipers in position. So if anybody, and actually found out that the snipers were for defectors, not for actually protect.
Planned economy makes me scared. It makes me think of Marxism, Leninism, so I don't know. I don't know how to feel. Is that person a Marxist-Leninist? There you go.
They were actually, anybody that tried to defect, they would shoot them, you know.
Dude, okay. I now obviously I haven't been all across Kharkiv before, but I've been to Kharkiv. I've been very close to the front line in the area. I've talked to a lot of people.
Very brave.
I've never heard stories of snipers in place solely to kill the defectors and not possible Russian infiltrators or recon groups. I've never heard such a tale.
Since March 2022,
I like how the story is custom made perfectly to make him seem as badass as possible.
John served in Ukraine's Foreign Legion and Nationalist Battalion Karpatskaya Sech. He saw and documented the Ukrainian war machine in all its ugly glory.
Wait, I think the term is Karpatska Sich. So funny when... Because Polish words are really similar to Ukrainian words. So it sounds like Karpatska Sich.
From the inside, he became part of it.
God bless Ukraine, God bless America, but you, Russia.
Russia. It's Russian.
Russia. Can I step on this?
Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
It's Russia.
Russia.
Sława Ukrainy, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can I be for real?
Be for
Can
real.
I be for real?
Of course.
He's like, I went into the Ukrainian military to document these atrocities. You're about to see some terrible atrocities, and then it's just,
Yeah,
fuck you, Russia.
we'll look at it.
You suck. That's it. And you're just like stamping on some flat. That's it. That's the evidence he gathered. Those are the atrocities. If his goal was to infiltrate the Ukrainian military and document atrocities, he did not do a good job. Okay, because like I don't know. I guess they could have recycled the fabric. I can't think of a I gotta get angry about that. Like who cares? Is that really? You risked everything for that? Okay, whatever.
As time went on,
Maybe it's a Trumper that was mad about the flag in the US as well.
Does that explain the videos where you were...
Wasn't there a whole controversy about the flag in the US as well?
I had to become more of a Nazi. Exactly. That's why you hated Putin in those videos. Because the only people who hate Putin are Nazis. No one else.
of course, it's part of it to maintain my cover because I got to become them. You know what I mean? If I'm going to be with them, I got to become them, you know, and doing the, Hitler
gosh.
salute, stepping on Russian
What?
flags, everything.
Yeah.
Look,
Where the...
at no point when I was like with these Ukrainian soldiers, we were like, Dylan, we need to know you're really with us, Dylan. Wait, what do you mean really with us? If you don't Hitler salute, you're not allowed to interview us. For every interview you do, you must do at least one zip.
Spoiler alert. Like... Like, spoiler alert. I'm just gonna tell you now. Sława Ukrainy is not a Hitler salute, okay? In case somebody didn't know.
Big Heil, like full form. in
So
the middle of the
ridiculous.
Wheat field every single time. Like this, I'm sorry, man. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
I just don't buy it. It's crazy how all these stories just kind of like manifest once you're in Russian captivity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah!
Very interesting.
Karpatska Siege, baby.
Arcanus, thank you so much for the Prime. I appreciate it. For 4 months. Thank you. Thanks for the great reporting. I appreciate it.
I had to become Nazi to Hitler salute to maintain my coverage. Sure, yeah, of course. Oh yeah.
Slava. Yeah.
Yeah, those are not Hitler salutes, okay? Like,
First came, I kind of expected they wouldn't be that big of a problem. Like I kind of, assumed that it was just like a,
Fascist.
I didn't think there was actually that many. But when I came, I was really surprised.
Okay, I'm sorry. So he is a communist infiltrator. This is the story. He's a communist infiltrator who has infiltrated the Ukrainian military to expose their fascism. And the fascism they exposed is one, like, Nazi skull, bad, patch, and the rest of the horrific crimes is them saying, Slava Ukraini, Slava Ukraini, I hate Putin, I hate Russia. Like, that's it?
yeah, Nazi
He
salutes.
broke in there to do that. Like, this is the grand scheme. Not to mention, right, he's now saying that he didn't think there'd even be those many Nazis. So you're telling me that he infiltrated the Ukrainian military,
Thinking there would be,
exposed the Nazis,
yeah, thinking there won't be even many.
that he didn't even think there were many of in the first place. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
It was everybody have, tattoos and
Oh yeah, everybody.
Nazi symbolism.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah,
they're
everybody.
wrong. On my Facebook page, I had pictures of Che Guevara and the Soviet Union, and I got questioned for having communist views, and I had to think quick on my feet, and I just told them, I said, hey, I'm an anti-fascist. I'm here to fight Russian imperialism and the Nazis and this and that. And they said, no, the Russians aren't the Nazis, we're the Nazis. And
Oh yeah, yeah, sure, I
Dude,
believe
I'm
that.
sorry. Dude,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Dude, he's like, no, we're the bad guys, sir. Oh, of course. Like, get out of here. This is common. He can't even keep a straight face when he says it. He's laughing into the camera. Dude, when I talk to
I'm gonna be honest. Like, in most places in Poland, if you, like, when I say, and when I tell anyone in the US that, when I tell anyone in Poland that in the US there's a floating idea that Ukraine is a Nazi place, then people will just laugh. People will just laugh at you if you say something like that in Poland, that Ukraine is a Nazi place, You'll be laughed out of the room. Like, my gosh, I don't know. This is so blatant. This is so weak.
Russian soldier, you want to know what I hear all the time when they talk about Russian ideology and the Russian state? Russism, like this idea of Russism, which is the idea of a combination of like Russian nationalism and fascism, right? You listen to people talk about Russia and you got asked, is Russia fascist? They'll say absolutely.
Yeah, of
They're the real
course.
Nazis. That's how they talk about them. If you look at Ukrainian Telegram channels, you'll see that as well. Like
I encourage you to Google the term Russification right now, okay? It will really give you a lot of perspective on the whole topic. Just Google Russification Wikipedia and you will get a lot of very useful information when it comes to the attitude of Russia towards the countries that it wants to conquer.
I'm sorry, but I do not believe that he was trying to say, actually, I'm an anti-imperialist. No, we're the real imperialist Nazi bad guy. I don't believe you. I just simply don't. He can't even keep a straight face.
Who said this? Who said this?
it was just some guys from
I go beyond not believing that. Like, I think this thing should not just be not believed. Like, it's laughable. It's just comical.
Croatia or Czech, I can't remember.
Just some random people that you can't look into because they won't give names or locations, and not even the exact country, in fact.
True.
Fantastic. A lead that no one can follow up on at all.
What they were. But
These are foreigners.
Those are the best. Those are the best leads.
Proliferation and dominance of Nazi ideology, from swastikas to SS emblems, is well documented.
By the way, dude, I'm sorry. That's a Russian vehicle with Russian camouflage.
Yeah, but Russification is part of that mentality. You know? Russification is a big part of it. You know? Yeah, of course. Russification is a huge part of being Russicist, you know? Erasing a different culture. Of course. This is also why Ukraine has been doing a de-Russification in its country, which a lot of people, again, from the US, criticize Ukraine for.
Flash paint. I saw this video on Twitter. I haven't seen this video confirmed. They're reposting it as if it's fact, but I mean, it's RT. Who knows?
You know?
They're fantastic journalistic integrity is to a high level.
And studiously ignored by Western states and media.
And we're supporting these guys.
Dude, if we are ignoring it in the West, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Because I get asked about this stuff every other day due to reports like this. I wish we were ignoring it more than we were, because I get asked about it every day.
And these are supposed to be our ally, and we want to put them in NATO with us, and they can't even follow Geneva Convention, and they're supposed to be our friends. You know, like, this would never fly in America.
Dude, I'm sorry. It's impossible
Wait,
to believe this.
aren't you a communist?
Sorry,
Aren't you
I heard
supposed
that
to
the
be
Ukrainians are
anti-NATO?
following the Geneva Convention. So what I decided to do was defect to the Russians, who very much respect the Geneva Convention.
True, and NATO.
You know, like,
especially
invading
NATO.
Ukraine under international law was illegal. It was an illegal act. Like, period, point, end of paragraph. The bombing campaign they've done is illegal. The torture that we've seen them do is illegal. We've got photographic, video evidence of them executing people in the Kiev Oblast, the mass graves that have been uncovered. Yeah, he defected because of out of respect for the Geneva Convention. Yeah, that makes sense.
The United States would never stand for this. Our whole country is literally burning in front of our eyes, and we're spending $500 million for these Nazis, billions of dollars for a Nazi.
Dude, I'm so sick of people using the word
This is
literally
so
like that.
transparent.
The word literally is worth.
This is so
The country
transparent.
is literally burning in front of our eyes. Oh, you mean they're figuratively burning? Why'd you even say literally? Again, not the sharpest crayon.
Government.
True.
You know, so that's infuriates me, and it's time for the American people to stand up and take control of our country.
Over the years,
Majority of Americans support aid to Ukraine, so
True.
they are in control of at least that aspect.
Because the majority of Americans are not, you know. The majority of Americans knows what's going on. That's the truth.
John spent most of his time in squads with foreign mercenaries. He watched and documented names, places, crimes, and much more.
The Russian position is 3 kilometers here. Maybe in the night, one group come back in the position, they kill these pigs directly.
Tell me this.
Wait, I'm sorry, what was the clip?
Over the year, John spent most of his time in squads with foreign mercenaries. He watched and documented names.
Also, they keep, like, as Dylan has just said, they keep mistaking mercenaries for foreign legionnaires.
Places, crimes, and much more.
The Russian position is 3 kilometers here. Maybe in the night, one group come back in the position, they kill these pigs directly.
Tell me this.
Wait, was that a war crime?
Morally corrupt, bankrupt man.
Wait, was that the war crime? He just said we're gonna kill those pigs. I guess the use of pigs towards the invading army is dehumanizing, which I guess I don't like. But as far as I'm aware, that wasn't a war crime. That was him insulting the enemy, which I'm very sorry for everybody at home, but militaries often insult the other army. It's very sad. I don't like dehumanization in war, but it happens very often, and I don't believe there's anything in the Geneva Convention about using the insult pig or something like that. Like, what, do I need to delete the VOD after watching that? I'm sorry, they just said he
An entropy fan says, I mean, all you need to look at is all the anti-feminist and anti-LGBTQ stuff on RT, and they are all softening it up to see how fascist Russia is. Like, I will just say this. Long before the war, Poland has already been the worst country in the EU when it comes to the LGBT rights. And even Poland, that is the worst country when it comes to the LGBT rights in all of the European Union, the narrative was Poland is becoming more like Russia. So Russia is even worse than Poland when it comes to LGBT rights.
God, he documented so many war crimes, so many atrocities, and so far, all I've seen is them stomping on some Russian flags, dancing in front of the camera. One guy who actually seemed to be a Nazi had a little, like, a Nazi emblem, and a guy saying we're gonna kill the Russians. Like, where are the actual war crimes?
This, what about war crimes?
Where to start, you know?
Okay, let's see 'em.
My second day in Ukraine. We were.
How much you want to bet it's just going to be a story with no documented evidence, even though he said the whole reason he went over there is to document war crimes?
It's gonna be a bunch of nothing burgers, I'm telling you now.
Lvov.
Spoilers. Okay, spoilers.
We were in like a school, but we were in like the basement, and what they did is they have a group of people, Roma, but they call them gypsy, you know. And what they did is they take the refugees and put them above us and the soldiers below. That way, if they bombed the school, they'd say, look, they bombed a school full of refugees. And this is a common practice in Donetsk, Kharkov. We occupy...
Wow, that's crazy. Well, remember, he said he infiltrated the Ukrainian military in order to document this stuff, so I'm sure he has photos and videos of...
Wait, is this person unironically going to claim that bad treatment of the Roma people is a Ukrainian-specific problem? When when the Roma people are treated that badly across Europe, it's like a continent-wide problem, including Russia, by the way. Like, is this person gonna claim that the Roma people are treated well in Russia? This is an interesting angle. I did not see that coming, considering that I'm actually gonna be debating Chad logic on that topic of the Roma people. Like, don't even try to make this like a Ukraine specific topic. You know?
Of most of this, right? He said that's the whole reason he broke in was to document this. To not just make it just some like bogus claim while he's a Russian POW, while he's a POW in Russia, but because he documented, because that's the whole reason he infiltrated, right? Let's see it.
Civilian houses next to houses that people are still living in. That way, if they bomb and kill civilian, they bring in the news crew and they say, look, this house, they blew up and they killed these civilians, but what the camera doesn't show you is to the left and to the right is a house is filled with military, you know. Of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
Wow, fantastic. I loved all of that, nothing. I loved every single bit of that, nothing, but just the claims of a person who is currently
that
detained by the
that is true Somniostatic, which is ridiculous.
Seen this in person, thank God, but I know that a lot of captured Russian soldiers, they'll take and they'll cut the genitalia with the knives and everything, and cut their stomachs open and slit their throats, cut their heads off and stuff like this, you know. Really horrible, horrible stuff, you know.
Man, that's
Any evidence? Because there is evidence of that happening to Ukrainian civilians by Russian soldiers. There's actual evidence of that happening, you know? Like there is, we actually have actual photos of executed Ukrainian civilians and all of the things described happening in reality. And here we have just a dude saying things.
crazy. It's also wild that the only single video online of a castration during this war is of a Russian soldier castrating a Ukrainian soldier. It's crazy that he hasn't seen any of this himself.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any photos, doesn't have any videos, doesn't have anything. But we just take it all at face value with no proof. Because RT, they're probably trustworthy. This random person is probably trustworthy.
Was this the work of nationalist extremists or just...
Yeah, just extremists and different organizations, Azov, you know, Karpatska Siege.
people you knew?
Yeah.
Did any of them
Yeah, they were foreigners, yeah.
But did any of them take part, commit any of these crimes?
Yeah, they, I told you earlier, they had shot 3 people in the back of the head. They were foreigners.
Wow, I'm sure you have some evidence of that, since again, according to him, the only reason he joined the Ukrainian military was to be a super duper commie boy and to expose all of the war crimes. So I'm sure he has a single shred of evidence of anything he is saying.
One was from Portugal, one was from France, and one was from Argentina.
They proud?
Yeah, they were proud, yeah, of course.
John put up every appearance of a good mercenary.
So what was he? Foreign Legion or mercenary?
Look, all I'm saying is if you look at all this footage, none of it's of war crimes, none of it is any of the claims that he was saying he was going there to document. It's all of him just having fun. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like somebody who is basically like somewhat vlogging in a war zone, and this is all the footage they have, so they have to go up off of his like unsourced claims and then just play footage of him having fun in a war zone, him smiling and laughing and stuff. Like no war crimes, no evidence, no nothing. It's almost like he was documenting his activities normally, like most people would, just like documenting what they do on a day-to-day basis, documents no war crimes, now is captured by the Russians, now is in Russian containment, either he defected or whatever happened there to get him in the control of the Russians, and now is spilling a story, spilling a thread of a story with no evidence, and is trying to like redefine why he originally went there in the first place.
You know what the saddest part of all this is? The saddest part of all this is that I actually think that some people will believe this. Some people, some Marxist-Leninist types will watch this sort of thing and be like, oh yeah, the Ukrainian fascism. You know?
Yeah. John came prepared. For years, he served in the U.S. military.
1st Armored Division. It was hot out there. It was at Fort Bliss, Texas.
How long were you in the military for?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Good
2 years
years
and a
or-
month. Huh?
Good years or
No, not really. Not really. A lot of drinking, you know.
in the army?
Oh yeah, of course. Normal, standard practice, of course.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
On base?
Yeah. Cocaine, everything, weed, anything you want, you know. Prostitutes, hookers.
Don't make me laugh with this. Like, really? Russia is gonna be shocked by drinking? Am I supposed to really buy this? That people from Russia are gonna be shocked by drinking in the military? Is this for real? Am I really supposed to be buying this? Oh yeah, the famously abstinent Russians. Okay, that's good. That's great. That's great.
You know, everything.
Wow. This is the most damning expose of
Sure. Of course, typical Russian would be so shocked by, like, alcohol in the army.
Of the United States Marine Corps. You know, I was just on call with my buddy in the Marines, you know, on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific, and he was saying, oh, he has so much difficulty beating back all of the cocaine being snorted by Zoomer soldiers, and he has to beat back all the hookers with a stick every time he leaves his room in that aircraft carrier, man. There's at least 7 to 9 strip clubs on every American aircraft carrier by law. Bill Clinton signed that. It was an executive order, man. Get out of here, man. Get out of here, dude. Anybody with a cursory experience inside the United States military would hear
Like, maybe Dylan does not want to be like buy into like stereotypes, but I can assure you, drinking is a thing. Okay. To me, the comical part is like that a Russian person would be shocked by drinking in the army. Okay? For me, this is the end. This is the comical part for me.
And would laugh in your face, man. Could you imagine the type of trouble you would get in if you're just some grunt and you were found with like a kilo of cocaine in the United States Marine Corps? They would skin you alive. Get out of here.
On base.
God, man. He's making the military sound a lot cooler than it actually is, man. I'm kidding.
Yeah, they arrested
come
one guy.
on.
He was a cavalry scout.
Of course.
In his barracks room, he had like bricks of cocaine. You know, he was like
A dealer.
yeah, he was like the distributor for the whole base.
But all
Oh,
that
yeah.
trading
Everyone's just doing coke. Gotcha.
in Texas, it didn't prepare him for this.
But I gonna tell you, Russian propaganda
We're northwest.
Russian propaganda is unironically like this always, you know? When Russian propaganda says that Poland is about to invade Ukraine at any day now, how Europe was gonna freeze during the winter, how Polish people hate Ukrainians and are sick of them. Like, Russian propaganda is just like this across the board, no matter what the topic regarding this war. There was a very small protest in Poland against refugees, and Russian TV happily took the footage and was like, see, this is how whole of Poland feels. They're getting sick of Ukraine, you know?
Of Severodonetsk, we are getting nailed, dude. We are getting nailed back.
Man, why isn't he documenting all these horrific things he saw?
True.
And he's only documenting
And
his
ironically-
normal everyday's experience as a soldier in the Ukrainian military. Almost like there's nothing extraordinary to document in the first place.
We just had a massive casualty event.
H. Rundo was in the Navy in chat. He said it was all true about the nine strip clubs in every aircraft carrier. I appreciate you confirming this.
Just in the last 30 minutes, I've had like 10 close calls today. Dude, like we are getting nailed. It's too much for me, dude. This Donbass, dude. This war, man, in general, ain't no joke, dude. People are getting ate the up left and right.
I mean, what war is a joke? What war is a joke?
I've had a lot of moments where I'm like, oh my God, this is stupid. You know, what the hell am I doing? You know, but it had to be done because, you know, the Ukrainian government and Nazis that control the government.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I can hear the swishing and of Vladimir Putin's long arm so far up his rectum, just making him say every line. It's like,
I mean, that is just how Russian propaganda works. We're just giving a prime example. I'm not even surprised by this. You know? This isn't even shocking to me in any way. Like, it is funny and ridiculous for the first few times, but then you just, you know? Then you just expect this sort of level of propaganda.
it's like boilerplate talking points, man. Get out of here.
And control the population, you know, the things they're doing in Ukraine to the Russian people, they need to be talked about, you know, they need to be stopped, and we've got to fight Nazism everywhere we go, even in America.
John documented everything. It was in his phone, his head, and in the papers he brought along.
So why haven't you shown anything?
Exactly. That's
I'm
my
done.
my question.
I'm not doing anything else.
Where's the
So
phone?
I don't want to watch. It's like a 17-minute report of him just like spilling stories. So I want to tell you the story behind this guy. Okay.
Okay, tell
The
us.
story that has come through the grapevine and has spread like wildfire online, and has honestly gotten a lot more attention in Ukrainian circles than even the original report, because it's such a mucho texto hilarious report. Now, I cannot confirm any of this is true. I've been told by others that they've heard from other people in the Ukrainian military that it's true. It seems like nobody seems to be really pushing back against this super hard. But I just want it to be true. I want it to be true because it is so unbelievably ridiculous, the story I'm about to tell you about this guy.
Okay, tell us.
I want it to be true more than anything else in the world because it is too funny.
Tell us.
So let me just read word for word.
Tell
what
us,
was
please.
posted about the background of this guy on Twitter.
All right, let's go.
Again,
Let's
I
go.
can't confirm any of
Let's do
this,
it.
but if he can spin a story, I'm going to spin a story that at least is more tied to reality. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so buckle up. I have some wild stories about this guy. So,
Okay, let's go.
this guy, Johnny, showed up to Ukraine and joined the Legionnaires. From what I've heard, he was eccentric from the time he showed up, but it was attributed to the fact that Johnny Boy wasn't the sharpest crayon in the box.
Oh no.
Upon arriving, he declared his intention to become a chaplain for the Legion, going as far as to write priest on his plate carrier, except he spelled it wrong. On more than one occasion,
What?
he loaded a belt on a machine gun backwards, claimed to be able to read Ukrainian and Russian. He knew what sounds the letters made, but not what the words meant.
Oh,
Once
no.
they got to combat operations, Johnny was a decent soldier. Things began to change, however, after a certain hard battle, when he was rotated away from the front lines, and he decided to get extremely intoxicated and started pissing on all the Legion vehicles. He was
What?
able to stop and did it, and eventually ended up pissing in the trunk of one of the vehicles that was filled with gear, food, supplies, and machine gun after he was told that the convoy wouldn't pull over in a stretch of dangerous highway for him to relieve himself. Essentially, he was told that he was a fucking disgrace and that he was fucked when they arrived back to the front, because they found that he had a mini keg of beer in his rucksack and had been drinking all day. They arrived back to the front, and Johnny is told that he is being put under arrest. He doesn't like this, not one bit. He attempts to start fighting the other soldiers, even taking swings at them until he was promptly rendered unconscious via a swing of a rifle
my
butt.
God.
He wakes up in a house under guard and then decides to jump out of a
I mean, that is pretty funny. I don't know if it's true or not, but that is pretty funny.
in the middle of the night without shoes or a shirt on and run away. After it was discovered that he has gone away, it comes out that Johnny may be in possession of a grenade. He runs to a nearby village, which has been abandoned, and steals a woman's clothes from one of the
What?
houses. Dude,
What?
I hate how long these Twitter posts are. At this point, his unit is out looking for him quite urgently after it surfaces that he confided in one of them that dear Johnny was once in ISIS. He is now on RT claiming to be Antifa and a communist, and was unironically in ISIS and had previously been under Russian artillery and airstrikes in Syria. Okay, so this is... They kind of say this more matter-of-factly in the story. I don't really believe that he was a member of ISIS.
True,
I
but
more believe that he probably claimed something like that in order to come off as impressive, considering other claims he has already made on TV that were fantastical. He smuggled himself back into the United States through the southern border and was hiding from the law. While in the US and hiding from the law, Jihad Johnny decided to get himself in meth.
oh my gosh.
Involved in meth and Confederate biker gangs, owning a substantial amount of money to the gang. He forced himself on the leader's daughter and got her pregnant in hopes that the leader of this biker gang wouldn't do anything to him. He was wrong. You generally could make a movie out of it. It's so insane. So the biker gang is out looking for him to get their money, and I assume his head, and having no way to pay it. Jihad Johnny decides to launch a jihad against the Confederate biker gang. This is all from what he told other members of the unit after he was caught. So again, this is all his words. So again, to me, this sounds like complete nonsense. This seems like complete bullshit. But it sounds like something that somebody would say in order to come off as, you know, cool, if you get what I'm saying. He got his hands on an AK, and he rigged up a suicide vest and intended to detonate it to take out members of the gang. For context, Johnny was a Christian, then became a Muslim, then became Jewish, then Muslim again, then atheist,
Oh my God.
and then a Christian again.
Born again Christian.
Several times before selling his soul to Satan for 100 years of life, before becoming a Christian again. He was completely sober.
Born again Christian.
So the urgency to find this meth head,
A Christian born thrice.
running around with a grenade obviously increased. He was then found after running through the town yelling, "Help me, baby Jesus, help me," over and over again during an artillery barrage, when he was promptly clubbed over the head with a rifle by the same guy who had done it previously. He was then placed under strict confinement, and while awaiting punishment, was sent to do labor in a bunker. He was kicked out of the Legion after running away again, getting drunk and pissing all over the bunker, and defecating in it with and defacing it with spray paint. There was a joke about him that if the Russians ever got a hold of Johnny, he'd be wearing a Russian uniform within 5 minutes because of how impressionable he was. This
Oh no.
ain't true.
Oh no.
He ended up converting to Norse paganism and joining a different
What?
militia who was totally unaware of these previous actions. After he had a
God.
discussion with a pagan, and he decided to become one. What I
my
suppose happened is that he got into some trouble again in this other militia, fled to Istanbul, like he said, and
Okay,
then
this
went
is
to
a funny
Russia,
story.
because otherwise he would have probably been strung up. And soon the Russians are going to find out that he has an IQ of 68 and that he's bullshitted all of this, and he's going to be in for another rough time, as there's really no going back on what he said. His former unit members don't believe he was a spy who had a mission to defect to the a spy who had a mission to defect the entire time, just that he's an absolute imbecile who's dug a hole so far, so deep, that he won't be able to climb out. He ended up in Ukraine in the first place to get away from a biker gangs, and also because his teeth were so fucked up from meth use, he wanted to get them fixed. He did. And that's the tale of Jihad Johnny so far. Related to me from members who served in his unit, an absolute odyssey, insane shit, insane guy. This is probably the wildest true story I've ever written about on here, and I still can't wrap my head around it. Wait, I missed a part. The reason he didn't go through with his jihad against the biker gangs was because Jesus appeared to him in a vision and melted the vest off of him, and he woke up naked. Here's a picture of the bunker he defaced. Okay, so this story
It's
is
amazing.
very
amazing.
wild. And I'm going to be honest, I don't believe all of it. And the reason I don't believe all of it is this dude is such a prolific liar that it's pretty obvious when you recant the story of his life what areas are just like maybe either completely made up or embellished to insane degrees. But it is still more believable than the nonsense story that the Russians put forward. If this guy was the communist, anti-imperialist infiltrator, again, he's an anti-imperialist in the United States, and he has decided that the best way to fight against imperialism would be to infiltrate the army of a nation being invaded.
And he praised NATO.
In order to annex territory. And to defect to the other side. Something incredibly dangerous, puts him under immense risk when that dude was cowering under shelling. I just don't buy that. Definitely, since if his mission was to document all these atrocities, document all these war crimes, he came up with like nothing. They would talk about the horrible atrocities of the Ukrainian military, and then they would just play some footage of some soldiers being like, Putin sucks, screwed up.
Oh my gosh.
And then it'd be like, wow, that's so horrific.
That is so...
You would think if he's had these months upon months upon months to gather all of these, all of this testimony about war crimes, and his main goal was to infiltrate the Ukrainian military and then reveal these war crimes, that he would have gotten some evidence. He would have gotten some photographs of this terrible plot to stuff Romani refugees into schools and get them blown up, of these terrible atrocities that took place that he said he saw. These violations of the Geneva Convention that he saw.
True.
What clip did they play afterwards? A Ukrainian calling the Russians pigs.
True.
Which, that's uncouth, but it certainly isn't a violation of the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
My goodness. I gotta say, as somebody in Gutter Chat just mentioned, the fanfic in the Russian military has gotten a lot better. So I don't believe all of the narrative that was just laid out when it comes to, you know, what he said personally, because I think he's a liar, and I think the person who wrote it also knows he's a liar. He's just recanting his story. So it's hard to know what's true and what's not. But I will tell you one thing. I don't believe what he's saying. He has no evidence to back up his claims. And this whole story, no matter
how
what
does
is
Dylan
true and
find
what
those
isn't,
people?
is absolutely bonkers and wild.
How does
And
Dylan
this
find those
guy,
stories?
no matter how many lies he tells on TV, seems to be in a whole lot of shit. Hate to be that guy. And I mean it, man. I would hate to be this guy. This guy is fucked. This guy is fucked. I'm trying to think. I mean, if he just served as a propaganda piece for the Russians, he can last for a bit. But what if he told them, like, more lies? Like, oh, I had all this evidence of war crime, and he has nothing.
I don't think Russia cares about that, to be honest. I don't think Russia cares about that. Like, frankly, I think Russia knows there is no evidence of war crimes to be found. Right? Russia just doesn't care. Russia just will say anything as part of its propaganda. Like, Russia doesn't need evidence for its propaganda to work. You know? The guy might not be as screwed as Dylan thinks, because he's just he's a Westerner that buys the narrative, that propagates the narrative. That's enough for Russia. There is no need for evidence. You know?